Hello and welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash Podcast. We have another great episode for you today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow wherever you are tuning in. Hold tight for just a second as we play a quick advertisement and countdown video while we wait for everyone to join. Thank you, and we hope that you enjoy the episode.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of BlockHash Exploring the Blockchain, episode 326. Today we have Matthew Liu, the CSO of SynFutures, here on the podcast today to chat with us. Matt, how you doing today, man?
Very good. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, how are you?
Doing well myself. Thank you for asking. Before we get started, would love to learn a bit more about yourself as well. You mentioned before we started that you're in Singapore, you're on your way to Hong Kong. But would also love to know, a bit about your background too. How did you kind of wind up in this space? So what's your story?
Sure. Thanks, Brandon. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt. I'm the CSO at SynFutures. I started my career more than 10 years ago as a trader in a bulge bracket bank, and then moved around the world to work for a couple of different companies to help manage their FX rates and other risks at the same time as funding. And then when blockchain became a hot, I would say, business sector, in my previous employer, in a fintech company, we started a blockchain business. So I was leading the cross-border trade finance business there, but mostly with enterprise blockchain as the infrastructure. Now, late 2020, early 2021, this is when I got together with Rachel, Ejo, the other two co-founders, and we realized the true power of blockchain lies in decentralized finance. And so we decided to use our past experience and expertise to build on-chain derivatives. Hence, we have SynFutures. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013.
Nice, way back.
Yeah, way back. Well, I sold it in 2014.
Made a little fortune.
That's killer. Made a little fortune at that time.
Compared to today, I mean, that is very little.
Yes.
Oh man, you got to be kicking yourself, huh?
I know.
Yeah, I've been there. I invested in crypto around that time as well. I'd say 2013 or 2014 for like the very first time. But I didn't hold on to like a whole lot of stuff throughout, I guess the past decade at this point. But man, there's some things I wish I held on to that I had way back then. I held on to that Ethereum, but that's like the only thing. I had some Bitcoin, had some Litecoin, but God, I wish I had it today.
Yeah. I mean, many people, around me at that time, we bought Bitcoin. But I think I was actually one of the luckiest because the other couple of guys, either they lost the key, some of the centralized service provider, the exchanges went under. So, that actually analyzed the importance of DeFi, right? Well, there wasn't DeFi at that time. But it's like if there were, then we would all just hold Bitcoin, other like crypto assets till today.
Yeah, DeFi has made it a lot easier. It was really hard to rely on centralized exchanges back then because there weren't a whole lot of them, and the ones that were out there weren't all that reliable. That's a lot of them don't even exist today, like Mt. Gox, for example, and a few others, but no, DeFi makes it so much easier to trade and to get access to different kind of tools within the space. So I can imagine, that's, an area that's been of interest to you for a long time, right?
Yes.
So tell me about SynFutures. What are you guys doing with SynFutures? What's your guys' goal? What's your guys' mission? What do you guys want to accomplish?
SynFutures is born with a mission to democratize the derivatives business on chain. So from day one, we designed the smart contract in a way that is completely permissionless and decentralized. Um, and the first version of the product features futures with maturity. So where in the TradFi world you think about the CME futures contracts, here you can have on-chain futures for basically anything. But so far we stay with mostly crypto native on-chain assets rather than off-chain assets because we see more value in these native assets. And then there are more community support for them as well. Now, we use AMM, automated money maker, market maker, to be the liquidity provider, following the logics of Uniswap, because that's where we saw the beauty of DeFi was, right? So with a very small team, lean operation, you can process a very large amount of financial transactions. So when Uniswap built the spot layer, we decided to build the futures layer for that. And I think I mentioned earlier, it's permissionless also in a way where the listing process is permissionless. So long as there is a price feed or there's a spot DEX for the asset on the network, anyone in the community, any users can come and list this new asset within 30 seconds with a few clicks. There's no like approval process that anyone needs to go through, like any core dev teams, or they're like a DAO voting. No, this process is completely permissionless. So we go. I think we've gone like long way to push this to a more I would say a DeFi native state. And so in the later versions like V2, we kind of also upgraded, but without like hindering the permissionless nature of the protocol.
Got it. Can you explain a little bit what an automated market maker is for those that might not be familiar with it? I know it's popular in DeFi these days, but maybe a little bit of an overview.
Sure. So, well, actually, back in my first job, right, I was market making in the international bond markets. Yeah. So I put an offer on behalf of a large bracket bank with a huge balance sheet and a huge supporting team, basically adding values in terms of making the bid offers. And that's also protected by a franchise of the bank that, no other people without a license could do it. Now, that of course has a lot of good value in the TradFi world, but when it comes to DeFi world, because there's so many different assets, there's huge variety and abundance of new assets, made it impossible for centralized market makers to do market making in every market for every asset. And therefore, back before the DeFi summer, Uniswap invented the first AMM, automated market makers, as simple, as beautiful as just X multiplied by Y equals to a constant K, and that determines the price of the two tokens X and Y. Now, that simple formula, if you see this, is a pricing model that basically you write in the protocol in the smart contract. Then in TradFi terms, the LPs can lend their balance sheet to this protocol, and the traders, the users can on the other side interact with this balance sheet to do spot transactions or futures transactions, and at the same time generate the fee, which would feed back to the LP. So that's basically why it is called automated market maker, because there's a formula there, very simple formula, and the pricing are done according to this very simple and beautiful formula. Transactions are then matched on two sides.
Very nice. Good explanation too.
Yes.
I know you guys have your V2 coming up as well for SynFutures. Is that coming up, relatively soon? And then what is that going to entail for you guys?
Yes. So V2 full launch is expected to come this month. So I mentioned earlier that in V1, we have futures with maturities, and we see V1 as a good, I would say, first launch or even test product that achieved quite some, milestones. For example, we had cumulative of $18 billion transaction volume for V1 in the last year and a half on 4 different networks, including Ethereum, Polygon, BNB chain, as well as the layer 2 Arbitrum. Now, V2 is a complete upgrade of V1 on a couple of different aspects. The first one, and most obviously to users, is the UI. We want to make this as simple as possible and as intuitive as possible. When we build the UI, our view is to build this for the future users. As we see, in the next 3 to 5 years, the users of DeFi are going to grow tenfold, 100-fold. Now, these users may not be as degen as some of the core team members are, but they will become the majority of the on-chain world in a couple of years. And so we are building towards them. Yeah, we're building for them. And the second one is that we also introduced perpetual futures in addition to the futures with maturities. So now for every asset pair, there are the futures maturity, and there are also the perpetual futures, which is, I would say, more appealing to smaller users that we saw. The third upgrade, of course, we upgraded the AMM model to basically make it safer for the LPs in terms of when it comes to market volatility, so they actually have less impermanent loss. Now, so that's basically the upgrades of V2, and now we are in the process, of course, to migrate some of the users and LPs from V1 to V2. So that's expected to complete this month, together with a full launch.
Nice. It's exciting, man. So you guys are growing and expanding pretty quickly, huh?
Yes. So we're a small team. We keep building, and we have a long list of new products to launch in the next actually couple of years to go. Keep building in this market. That's our idea, because look, with our past experience in the TradFi world, as well as in fintech and CeFi, we realize once we devote ourselves in DeFi, we want to be here, in the long term. So that's why anything we build, this will not be a hit and run project or like a 6-month walk away thing. We want to build one thing and upgrade it, sometimes, kind of revolutionize our own ideas and build the next generation platform for derivatives. So yeah,
that's good, man.
We're gonna stay.
Excellent. You also mentioned as one of your products something called NFT Futures as well. How does that work? Does that involve NFTs in futures trading in some kind of way, or is this something different?
So NFT Futures, or in short, we call it NFutures, that's the name, is a new product that we launched last month, still in closed alpha. We have just opened the second batch of whitelist users. Now, what this does, is to make your expression of your like or dislike of NFT to be backed with backed with your token. I express your idea and then put money behind your idea. Now, and when it comes to like and dislike, we made it as simple as using Tinder. You click like or dislike or swipe left and right, and that would turn into a trade on chain. Of course, through the approval process and everything. But we want to make this as simple and as fun as possible. Um, so yeah, the underlying mechanism is also simple because we have a smart contract in the crypto future product that basically can trade anything so long as there's a price feed or ERC20 pools. So then we start to partner with a couple of NFT fractionalization projects that already have a ERC20 pool for the fractionalized NFTs. Usually, it's a package of floor NFTs from the blue chip projects, right? So then we can. So again, that's the beauty. Another beauty of DeFi in the Lego mode, right? So we can like link together and use that ERC20 pool as the underlying to support this futures trading. And so this now is the first and only platform where you can actually trade with real tokens, and then two directions, long and short, the NFTs with leverage.
That's interesting. That's really fascinating. I've never seen that or heard about that before. So that's really cool. Just make sure I understand the concept. So like you can put like, let's say a group of select blue chip NFTs into like a basket and you can long and short that basket, correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
the basket usually consists of the floor price, like for example, 100 different punks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and usually that is tracking the floor price of punk, and then there is a spot DEX pool for this liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the future layer, then we trade that. We trade futures for that.
That's really cool. Have you guys, studying that, noticed any trends potentially in the NFT market where maybe the floor price has changed significantly up or down in the last, year or so, as you're building out this product? I mean, it's got to be interesting to kind of track some of those things.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. We we were planning to launch this earlier, but then there was so much volatility
Right.
in that floor price that we actually saw a good opportunity recently as it cools down a little bit to start launch this. But of course, it's a dilemma, right? When the floor price is moving so fast, this is where the market is pretty hot. But at the same time, on the other side, we need to also, I say, care for the LPs without letting them to be subjected to too much volatility and impermanent loss.
What do you think about the state of the NFT market right now? It's suffered quite a bit in the last year and a half. With, I think it got overhyped maybe in 2021, and then the value and the floor for a lot of different projects kind of fell off a cliff. How do you see NFTs improving and getting better into the future? I like to dub it like NFT 2.0. But like, how do you see NFTs kind of evolving from here?
I think there are two underlying factors that will drive what you mentioned as NFT 2.0. Right? The first one is real use cases. Right. So unlike just a simple JPEG, I think people are developing real use cases for NFTs. Some of those, for example, are related to membership. Others have like a deeper community value, or even in the future, I think these NFTs can be used for even some offline things. There are certain connections, redemptions of these NFTs with other valuable things. So there will be more use cases in the next NFT wave. And the second driving factor, I believe, is the overall liquidity in the market. Right. So back 2 years ago, we were wishing that, hopefully crypto can be accepted as a mainstream asset class. I think we've got that already, right? Mm-hmm. So there was so much institutional money came in, and of course, some of them went out. Now, if you look at all these assets from an asset spectrum perspective, right? So from on one side of the spectrum, there are like very safe assets like fixed income, treasury bonds. Then in the middle, you have the equities. On the right hand, maybe some like tech stock, and then further right will be crypto assets, right? And if you look deeper in that, the subcategories will be like some ERC20, and then on the right, on the most right side is NFT. Right. So that's why the second factor will be overall liquidity in the market. Once there's more liquidity, naturally more will flow to the right side of that spectrum, and NFT will definitely have another bull market.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's around the corner. It'll come, I think, sooner than people realize. But yeah, there's this need for more tangible value or value add to an NFT other than it just being a JPEG, like you mentioned, and being able to attach it to something maybe that's real world or virtually, or have some other kind of function or utility appropriated to it. But no, it's a very fascinating industry, and I'm glad you guys are helping kind of evolve what you can do in terms of tracking it, trading futures for example. I want to talk about as well, because you mentioned you're in Singapore, you're going to Hong Kong. Given all the chaos and the regulations and the crackdown in places like the US, for example, there's been a lot of companies start to leave and look for other friendly jurisdictions and cities and countries to continue growing and building. And Hong Kong recently has become more and more friendly to a lot of these companies, offering them a lot of opportunity to come and to build and to develop and innovate. And I know Singapore has also been like one of those places for a very long time. Since you're there, since you're going to Hong Kong, just kind of wanted to get your thoughts while you're on the podcast of what these cities kind of feel like if you're in crypto. Like, how friendly is it? Do you feel the benefits? Do you feel welcome?
Yes. I think yes to both Hong Kong and Singapore, and yes to a lot of the cities in Asia and of course Middle East. As my experience so far has been they're very positive in terms of not only on the policy side there's some positive news, but also there are many new teams, new entrepreneurs start building things. Maybe they start in Hong Kong and they start in Singapore or Dubai. So this means crypto, Web3, these are global, right? By its nature. I think you mentioned about some regulatory headwinds. My experience, actually, has always been positive. I think when I'm dealing with the regulators, like friends of regulators, for example, last year, I was in DC with the IMF to give them sharing session about the benefits of DeFi, why DeFi is better than FTX, comparing TradFi banking to CFI like FTX to DeFi like Uniswap or SynFutures, and it was pretty well received internationally. And it was basically the audience was coming from 20 different central banks around the world. it was pretty well received, I have to say. A very friendly conversation, and these international regulators were eager to learn more about how the business world think about decentralized finance, about these applications that potentially can help them to give directions on future policy making. But of course, in certain parts of the world, there are a little bit of headwinds recently. But I do see in the long run, to fully utilize the power of decentralized finance, right? We would need to have like 500 million users, even a billion users in the whole DeFi world. Today, we're not there yet. Today, MetaMask has an MAU of around 20 million, 30 million. A lot of, some people control multiple accounts. So I would say only 5 million, right? So we need to grow 100-fold. And by that time, I'm very sure there will be very practical solutions where the regulators and the industry people meet in the middle. Yeah, because look, if you ask me, hey, tomorrow, if I can push my project to 500 million people to use it, I can't sleep in the middle of the night because I am a little bit scared. We're talking about 500 million users, right? But one day we'll be there. So that's why some comfort would also need to come from the regulators who protects the users in their interest, and at the same time guide the industry to have higher standard while we upgrade the products. So that's my view. I think eventually we'll come out of this period of headwinds and really come down together and meet somewhere in the middle for the benefit of the long-term development of DeFi.
Yeah, and it happens in a lot of different other technologies as well. When they're innovating, they're pushing the limits of what they can break, what they can do, what they can get away with. And then you have these regulators and agencies that are trying to make sure they comply, and they're pushing really hard, to try and keep up with them at the same time because they're innovating faster than they know what to do about it. Like that's an everyday problem in blockchain.
Yes.
That so many things develop even within DeFi every single day. And I talk to so many different people, even on the podcast, and they come on and start talking about all these different things, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, wait, what is that? I've never heard about that before.
I feel the same thing. Even
yeah,
I cannot catch up. I mean, if I'd like to catch up, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And even if I don't sleep, I don't think I can.
I know. I can't, like, I just accept that there's some things I'm not going to know right away, and then I'll figure it out in the future. But man, it's crazy to think about how fast this space innovates versus other niches in technology, from AI to IoT to the auto industry to robotics, whatever you want to name. They do not innovate as fast as blockchain, which is crazy. And on top of that, you have all these different ecosystems. You have the Ethereum ecosystem, and you have Cardano and Polkadot and Hedera and you name it. And all of them are developing in so many different ways. So there's no way to keep up with that stuff. But it's cool at the same time because so much is getting done so quickly, so many solutions, so many ideas. It's a very rewarding, I think, industry to be a part of. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way. It's fun to see all those.
Yes, very exciting journey. And I truly enjoy this steep learning curve, even after a couple of years. Still very steep, even steeper. Yep. And this is some, I would say, the best experience I've ever had working, after working in TradFi, fintech, CeFi. This blockchain and DeFi is the way to go. And of course, the other beautiful part is people work in the decentralized mode. People work remotely and still can concentrate and work efficiently. So that's the beauty, right? So we don't need to like sit in the office and have a brainstorm session of 3 hours, then come up with close to nothing. Now it's like efficient calls, and then decision made. Then let's move forward. Really like it, and it's also a way to tap into global talent pools. Where, for example, in SynFutures, we even have team members in Kenya. We have team members in India, in Turkey, that actually trust each other and work very smoothly with each other. We haven't seen like them actually in person, but I think one day we will. But before that, it's a very efficient organization. This is the way
that's
to
really
go.
cool. That's really cool. It's great that you guys can be global like that and still, collaborate and actually work to get things done. How do you guys work together as a team? Do you guys just use like virtual meeting rooms like Zoom and Google Meets, or do you have like other methods to collaborate and work together? It's got to be a little difficult working in so many different time zones and so many different language barriers, and getting everyone to the virtual table essentially.
So a little bit on the management side. We do have the communication softwares, and then we get together periodically. For example, with some of the larger teams, maybe once a week, making sure things are properly allocated to each responsible person. And the best part is, I think the team members each takes a lot of good initiatives, and requires a lot of support from many other team members. So that's that's the beauty. Again, many people didn't meet each other, but it works out pretty well.
Nice, man. Where can people go to learn more about SynFutures if they want to check it out, if they want to start using some of the products you guys have, and they want to get ready for V2 and the other things you guys are launching? Where would you direct them?
I would say first thing, you can check our Twitter or website. So it's www.synfutures.com. And we also have an academy that we have been running for more than 2 years, with a lot of good knowledge about blockchain, about DeFi. That's also a good area to get equipped with some knowledge before diving into this endless world of everything happening every day.
I could probably use it once in a while. That's cool though. Where's this academy? Is it also accessible from the website or elsewhere?
Yes, it is accessible from the website.
Cool. What about you? Can people find you on social media or online if they want to connect with you and chat or collaborate?
Absolutely. So I have a Twitter account that you can find under the SynFutures account. Feel free to DM me. Feel free to tag me for things. And then I'm usually in many of the blockchain conferences. So we can also meet up there.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put all the links and info and directories down in the description for the episode as well. So anyone that's watching, you can go check out all that stuff. SynFutures, you can find Matt. You can check out the academy. You want to learn more about DeFi, it's probably a good place to go. I might check it out myself. But dude, thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. It's been a really fun conversation, learned a lot. And thank you for sharing everything you guys are working on.
You're welcome, Brandon. Thank you. And thank you, everyone.